2.
Must be time for another conversation with our friend Jeff Passan. And if you're watching on YouTube or on the app, oh, well, we got a close-up shot. There's Jeff. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Gentlemen, how are you?
We're doing great. It's been this Mariner ride is bizarre, right? You sit here, you watch them at home last week. They lose 5 of 6. Then they go on the road and just sweep the Padres and win again last night. They've outscored their opponents 20-4 in the last 4 games here on the road. I don't even really know what the question is in there, but other than just to say, baseball, man, it's amazing. Wait a week and everything changes.
Yeah, I think that what we're seeing now is a version of how good the Mariners can be. And the really exciting part is that George Kirby's coming back, and that Logan Gilbert's coming back, and that Bryce Miller's going to come back, and that all of a sudden this team that looks like arguably the second best team in the American League. I mean, you can go with them or the Yankees, but I think everyone's behind Detroit right now. But arguably the second best team in the American League as it stands right now is going to be adding 2 Cy Young caliber pitchers, as well as a third starter who's got that potentially in his future. It's really exciting, and it should be. Like, people should be excited about what this Mariners team is right now, because I think they are playing like what we thought the best version of them could or would be.
We've been doing this now, Jeffrey, for a bunch of years and love it every single Tuesday during baseball season. As we sit here, and I know we're not even to Memorial Day yet, but you make the points about what's coming. We can look at the farm system. You've raved about them in the past. Does this feel like the most complete Mariner organization that we've talked about in all these years with you?
Oh, unquestionably. And, you know, I still look at the offense and I like, my instinct is they're not this good, but all of the underlying numbers make me think that this is real and that there's something substantive here. And I think it begins with Cal Raleigh. The fact that he is turning into not just like a great all-around player, but a true offensive weapon, a guy who is near the top of the league in home runs, and also is walking a bunch. And like, I don't know, the offense is just really good right now. Randy Arozarena's arrival, it's weird to think, because, you know, when we think of Randy Arozarena, right, we tend to think of the guy who had one of the best playoff runs we've ever seen. And that's not what he is right now. But what he is somebody who gets on base a lot. And when you have him getting on base, and when you have Raleigh getting on base, and when you have Jorge Polanco getting on base, and J.P. Crawford walking and getting on base, and even like Mitch Garver, Leo Rivas, like, Rowdy Tellez hitting home runs, everyone's doing something. And it just go. By the way, it's wild that I have not mentioned Julio Rodriguez yet, right? Yep. Because we thought, as goes Julio, so go the Mariners. Apparently not. Julio, yesterday, yeah, but generally speaking, Julio's just been solid this year, and that has been enough.
I still tend to think that long term, in order for the Mariners to get to where they want to go, they're going to have to get some of that version of Julio. And it's worth saying he hasn't been bad. He's been better, through the first month and a half than he has been the last couple of years. But, yeah, I mean, it is really impressive just how deep they've been and how many you said everyone, almost everyone. They do have one player with a 300 OPS. We'll have to talk about him in a little while. It's a 300 OPS. That's that's a territory that you don't normally talk about, but we'll talk about Donovan Solano later. There's too many other fun things to talk about. And I wanted to ask you about what we saw last night with Luis Castillo. I don't know how much of it you got a chance to see. He's throwing 96 again. A week ago, we were talking with you about his velocity. Well, he's had 2 starts since, throwing 96 in both of them. But his 96-mile-an-hour fastball yesterday was moving 22 inches arm side. So is that a 4-seamer? Is that a 2-seamer? Has he invented a 3-seamer? Like, what's going on?
I did not get to see the grip on the pitch, but whatever you want to call it, if you're getting 22 inches of arm side run, let's just call it like a death ball, because it's really, really hard to hit. And like we talked about this, guys, it's nice to have the velo back, but with Luis Castillo, it's about command and it's about movement now at this point in his career, I think. And he illustrated that yesterday. And it's nice. It's been nice to see Logan Evans and Emerson Hancock do what they've done. But if you have, I'm not even going to say prime Castillo, if you just have good Castillo along with a healthy Kirby, who was up to 98 in his last start, and Logan Gilbert, who was at 95 in his bullpens and will be going out and be on a rehab assignment soon, I imagine, and will be back. And Bryan Woo, I love. You guys know I love watching Bryan Woo pitch because he doesn't walk anyone, and it's almost like Woo has been Kirby. Like, he has filled that role this year. 55-8 strikeout to walk ratio. I know nobody is George Kirby, like Maddox with velocity when he's healthy. But Bryan Woo's doing a pretty damn good imitation of both of them.
You feel it, Jeff? I mean, what are we, 10 minutes in here, and you're just talking about all these guys who've not even gotten to Mooney on the back end of that, who's been the best closer in baseball. There's not even an argument about that. Are you and your peers kind of feeling it as you listen and maybe chat with Buster and folks around the building? Like, these Mariners got a lot going on. Best road record in baseball. They're doing this without a couple of their guns. They're getting contributions from everybody. Are you starting to hear a little more noise, a little more attention about these guys up in Seattle?
I think there's cautious optimism at this point because it still feels like the offensive end of things. It's not that it's not real. It's been going on now for too long for it to be not real. But I guess I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I don't like
you think last year plays a role? I mean, they were 10 games up in the American League West in June. You think there's scars of like last year's demise in fall?
I don't think about it that way because I feel like they look like a different team right now. They just look like like a team that knows what it is, and they're embracing that. And so I think last year, I don't know, maybe it lives in some small recess of their mind, but I don't see the collapse playing any role this season. They're just playing confident baseball, and it's fun to watch. Like, they're an enjoyable team to watch.
It's great seeing the text reaction here to you being on video today. So for everyone watching on YouTube or on the app or seattlesports.com.
Oh, no. What are the reactions?
How's the coloring look?
Roast me live.
It actually really has been, Jeff. At this point, Jeff is far less disinterested than I thought he would be. Jeff sounds different today, maybe a little extra nasally or something. Yeah, there's a couple of others. Why does Jeff sound like AI Jeff today? I don't know. Those are all reasonable questions. I don't.
AI Jeff.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of AI Jeff.
I do not. We don't need that.
No, we really don't.
You know what I kind of like, Jeffrey? I kind of like, and I know where you're coming from, right? Because Leody Taveras was let go by Texas for a reason. Our first base situation is kind of like an eclipse. And when he delivers, they're typically big home runs and difference-making home runs. Right? Polanco's come back to earth a little bit. Julio's WRC plus is 112. And so I kind of get where you're getting offensively. But then I look down on the farm as well. And this is where I think they feel more complete than maybe any time, Salk, honestly, in our 15 years. Because down on the farm, Harry Ford is exploding in Tacoma. Down on the farm, Cole Young is exploding this month. Obviously, the single-A guys are too far away to contribute this season. But for the first time in some time, you've got legitimate offensive threats down there on the farm. How do you mitigate and manage that?
I mean, it's the most first world problem imaginable. We have good big league players and a good farm system. And there are going to be some mistakes along the way, right? Either guys are going to be rushed or guys are going to be kept down for too long. Guys are going to come up and fail, and they're going to have to be sent back. But that's the consequence when you have as many really good prospects as they do. And my question at this point, guys, is which one of them goes in July? Because this Mariners team is in a position right now to go and add. And we still don't know, like, before we get to, like, okay, who are they going to target, stuff like it's still too early for that. We still don't know which teams. Like, I would have thought St. Louis, for example, was going to be dealing at the deadline this year. You know, they didn't spend $1 in free agency this offseason. They came back with this team that was mediocre last year. I saw St. Louis and Kansas City this weekend. Maybe it's recency bias. Maybe it's bias for seeing them in person. I think they're good. And, I think they're actually quite good. Their defense is spectacular. And my question, and I'm writing about this right now, like, can you ride defense to a postseason berth? But all of this was to say that I think people thought that Ryan Helsley was going to be available. And imagine adding Ryan Helsley to a bullpen that has Munoz and Brash and Spire and is performing the way that it is right now. I mean, that would be lockdown, nasty, exactly what you're looking for. But, is Harry Ford, because Cal Raleigh's there, is Harry Ford a guy who's going to be expendable? And if so, what are you going to be able to get for him? Do you move him now? Do you move him over the winter to try and, get an even bigger piece and maybe not a guy who's on an expiring contract? Just, sorry to bring this up, but, 54%? Not this year.
Well, this is isn't this
not
why
this year.
you do rebuild? Honestly, Jeff, isn't this why you rebuilt? Isn't this why they did their step back and traded Cano and everything else they did? And maybe, a couple years ago was the beginning of that competitive window, but this was the idea because the team they had was capable then of winning 90 games also, but they didn't have anything in their farm system to go and supplement it either when guys were hurt or when they wanted to add at the deadline or in the offseason. Now you've got a team that's as good as the one with Cano and Cruz and et cetera,
right.
Except you also have the organization behind it. This is literally why you rebuild.
That's been the joy, I think, of this season, Mike, because I think we had questions coming into this year. Like, is this one of those weird gap years where you still got your starting pitching, they're still in their prime, they're still theoretically healthy, but the offense just isn't going to be enough, and maybe they're like a year and a half away from having all of those prospects start graduating and come up and become impact players. And it turns out the offense is good enough. So I do wonder if that allows them a little bit of time to let them bake and let them find that best version of themselves without having the pressure to go to the big leagues and be immediate contributors, which is, it's always what you want from guys. It's just not particularly realistic. Like, what the Mariners did exceptionally well is turn pitching prospects into actual guys. I always look at it like, for every 5 pitching prospects you have, like good ones, if you get 1 starter and 1 reliever out of them, you've done okay. The Mariners' hit rate was way higher than that. And that has fueled, their first playoff run in 20 years and competitiveness the last couple of years, and then presumably, hopefully for them, another playoff run this season. The scary part, though, is there aren't a lot of other organizations in baseball who have that level of big league talent as well as the minor league talent as well. The Dodgers are always going to be there. The Cubs have a pretty good farm system. But teams that are like winning right now and have a system like the Mariners, a handful at most.
Can I ask an uncomfortable question?
Oh, boy.
Of course.
Do we need 2 baseball teams in Chicago still?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes. Why not?
Well, I don't know. I found myself thinking about it last night watching the White Sox, and they're spending $43 million on their active roster. If you take Robert, who they would love to deal out of it, it would be $28 million for 25 players. I mean, they're not spending a dime. Nobody's going to the games. They play in a ballpark that's literally called Rate Field. I don't even know what that means. Rate. It's not even guaranteed rate anymore. It's just Rate Field, a name that you can't even Google. I can't. There's no one there. Chicago's big, but it's not that big. It's the only sport in which they have two teams.
What do you mean Chicago's not that big?
It's the third biggest city. It's 7.5. I know it's 7.5 million people, but 2/3 of them at least are Cubs fans. So you're not talking about such an enormous population of White Sox fans. Like Montreal has 4.5 million people in that area. Like, do we need a second team in Chicago still?
Are you trying to contract teams?
No, I'm trying to move the White Sox to Montreal.
You're trying to move teams.
Yeah, I think I am. I think it's sad watching them.
All right, little Reinsdorf. Like this. Come on, Mike.
All right, so no.
Were you hold on, were you trying to move them when they were good?
No, but that was 20
then
years ago.
What kind of fair weather garbage is this?
I mean, it's been 20 years.
They stink. Let's move them.
That's not it. No, it's not about stinking. It's about
It's 100, dude. It is 100% about stinking.
Well, but it's about not trying. I mean, they're not trying.
Oh, are they going to try in Montreal?
Maybe if they sold the team to somebody else. They sold them to somebody in Montreal. Yes.
That was not the uncomfortable question I was expecting. I thought it was going to be like something about like the faces that I make when I'm on camera.
I don't care about that.
Or how this is true. Like, I think I'm okay on TV. Like, I think I'm passable on TV. It's not something that's natural to me or comfortable, but I've gotten okay. My biggest flaw on TV, and you will see this if you look at me when I'm on, when I'm talking, I don't blink. I don't know why.
You smile. What's with the huge smile while you're talking?
Because I feel good when I'm talking.
No, this is some TV coaching or something.
No.
Some consultant told you to start smiling whenever you're talking on TV.
No, absolutely not. I'm a joyous guy, Mike, except when I hear you're trash. Let's move the White Sox.
Well, just a question.
Come on, man.
How about Pittsburgh, Colorado, Baltimore all firing their managers before May 20th? What's the future? I mean, look, Pittsburgh not a surprise, Colorado not a surprise. Those poor guys don't have much of a shot. The Baltimore thing is fascinating. I'm totally blown away, shocked by how bad Baltimore is, and I will admit I get much of my information just by following Jason La Canfora on Twitter, who spends every single day
He's angry.
Oh my God,
so mad.
My God, does he hate Michael Elias? I mean, just every single day he's on it.
But isn't that the team, Jeff? You said earlier you thought it might be St. Louis. I mean, isn't Baltimore the team? They're 15-31, and we've talked about them for years of being a team that would match bats for the Mariners' arms. And I mean, aren't they the perfect team? And isn't this an ideal situation for the Mariners?
Yeah, but at this point, the guys who you want to get from Baltimore's not trading. They're not trading Gunnar Henderson. They're not trading Jackson Holiday. Not trading. No, they might trade Jordan Westberg. They're not trading Adley Rutschman. But these are all guys who are underperforming, and that's to say nothing of what they did in free agency this winter, where they went out and actually spent money. Like, they spent $100 million this offseason. 49.5 went to Tyler O'Neill, who's got, I think, a 500 OPS and is on the injured list. 8.5 went to Gary Sanchez, who's had 20 plate appearances and on the injured list. 10 went to Andrew Kittredge, who hasn't thrown a pitch for them this year. 15 went to Charlie Morton, who's 0-7 with an 8-something ERA. 5.25 went to Kyle Gibson, who's already been released. And 13 went to Tomoyuki Sugano, who's actually been pretty good but doesn't strike anyone out. They had the opportunity to add to this core. They did not add the right people, and Brandon Hyde wore it after 101 win and 91 win playoff seasons. And look, when you are given the kind of talent that he has been given and you don't win, it's bound to happen. But at some point, the talent actually has to do something, and they're not right now. It all goes back, Mike, when you talk about the three managers being fired. Can't fire the players. And so someone's got to wear it when things are going as poorly as they are.
And isn't that an exercise there for Mariners fans? And I think all of us can raise our hands with some of the frustration of this offseason and not spending and not finding impact. Like my old late great real estate boss used to say to me, sometimes the best deal is the deal you don't do. What if the Mariners had spent $100 million and $50 million on Tyler O'Neill, right, and made some of these similar moves and watched these guys underperform? They wouldn't have the best road record in baseball and be 8 games over 500 right now.
I think that's very true. I also think that spending is better than not spending.
Mm-hmm. I think drafting and developing is the best premise of them all.
No. You're totally right. They're just not mutually exclusive, and I don't want, because of the Mariners' success this year, to give ownership an out necessarily, and to say that the way that they have proceeded in recent off seasons and the budget that they've given this front office is reasonable or acceptable. They should have more, but they're going to be getting into a position in the coming years, because all of these prospects are going to be arriving and are going to be making $800,000 or so a year for the first 3 years in the big leagues, that they're going to have some leeway. They're going to have some room to spend. And so when Logan Gilbert gets expensive, which he already is, when George Kirby gets expensive, like keeping some of these guys around, I think that's the next phase. Like, who are you going to add to Julio and... I mean,
Cal.
Who else? Cal. Like, they really, aside from that, they really don't have anyone else signed super long term, right?
No, not really.
Those are 2 good ones to have, though.
Yeah,
by
no
the way.
kidding. Those are pretty good guys to have locked up. Just you mentioned and touched on it earlier, but I did find myself impressed with both Logan Evans and Emerson Hancock and the job they've done. Maybe sort of 2 parts of the question. One, how many other teams have those types of guys as their 6 and 7 starters kind of ready to fill in? Obviously, the Dodgers do and a few others, but how common roughly is that? And then, what do you do when you get all 5 of your projected starters back? Is there a way to take advantage of the skills that either of those 2 guys have, or do you just have to, unfortunately, have the wonderful problem of having too many starting pitchers and put 2 of them in AAA?
It is uncommon, and I think that with Hancock, it's probably back to AAA. With Evans, a guy who they have toyed with in the bullpen before, I wonder if they keep him there and keep him maybe as the long guy, or potentially, just use the stuff and turn him into a short inning guy for the time being and then re-stretch him out. But it's one of those things where you want a guy to have a defined role. You don't want him to be going back and forth necessarily. We've seen scenarios where guys have been toyed with too much. And the safe thing, and honestly, the Mariners are in the position right now where they might be able to do the safe thing. The safe thing would be to send them both back down, get them their innings this year so that there's not too big of a jump next year or at any point if they have to go back into the rotation. But I just think, those 2 have rotation spots at some point going forward. And, it might be if the others leave via free agency. It could be if there's a trade. But there's also Ryan Sloan and Jurangelo St. And, they are fast on the come up as well.
To quote the great Pete Carroll, man, this is really fun. This is a first-place baseball team with as loaded organizationally as we have ever had, talent-wise, up and down. And honestly, like watching Cal emerge, he's 4th in the WRC Plus in baseball, or was a day ago. To watch Julio not even have to be a superstar and carry it. And to watch all of this, Joe, this is, we have a chance to have, I think, a really fun summer together.
Can I just say one thing quickly?
Yeah.
Let's remember this conversation when they go through a losing streak.
Yep.
Like last
Absolutely.
week? I haven't seen that since like last week. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is what happens with good teams. They go on longer good runs than they go on bad runs. And if you can limit those bad runs to a few games and make those good runs over 10, 12 games, that's a division-winning team right there, gentlemen.
Pretty cool. Jeffrey, thank you. It was nice to see you and not just talk to you this week. And we're already ready. We'll do it again next Tuesday.
Blink.
Thanks, man.
Blink, Jeff.
Yeah, blink.
Yeah, I'll try not to smile as much, you turd.
There goes Jeff Passan, who just calling me names, which I think is totally inappropriate here. But we'll come right back and discuss everything he had to say. Maybe I'll call him some names once he's off the air and can't respond. It's Brock and Salk.